The truth about money is that it doesn't chase the desperate. It moves toward clarity, value, and discipline. People who command money don't run after it. They align themselves in such a way that money is drawn to them. The most powerful shift you can make isn't in chasing income. It's in becoming someone income chases. Money doesn't chase desperation. It follows clarity, discipline, and value. Desperation repels the very thing you're trying to attract. When you're operating from a place of fear, lack, or urgency, your energy is scattered, your decisions are emotional, and your strategy is weak. Money senses that. People sense that. The world doesn't respond well to desperation because desperation clouds judgment and erodes trust. It communicates that you're not grounded, that you're not stable, and that you haven't yet built something worth investing in. People don't buy from someone who seems unsure of themselves. They buy from confidence, from consistency, from quiet conviction. When you approach money from a space of lack, you make choices that keep you in lack. You undercharge. You overcome it. You agree to things that don't align with your long-term vision just to get a short-term fix. That creates cycles of stress instead of streams of success. The more you beg money to stay, the more it slips through your fingers, because money isn't attracted to need. It's attracted to order, and order only comes when you replace panic with purpose. Clarity is the first step. Until you know who you are, what you offer, and why it matters, you're building on shaky ground. If your direction changes every time the market does, you're not a business person. You're a reaction. Clarity means defining your value and staying rooted in it. It means knowing exactly what problem you solve, for whom, and how. It means having a vision that's bigger than income goals and more meaningful than numbers. Clarity creates stability, and stability invites trust. The clearer you are, the more confidently people can move toward you. Discipline is the next requirement. You can have the best ideas, the purest intentions, and the sharpest skills, but without discipline, nothing will materialize. Discipline is the bridge between potential and profit. It's waking up when it's easier to sleep. It's following through when it's easier to quit. It's managing your habits, your time, and your thoughts with precision. Because when you become consistent, you become predictable, and people only invest in what they can predict. Discipline also creates self-respect, and when you respect yourself enough to keep your promises to yourself, others will start to believe in you. Value is the final piece. In a world full of noise, value stands out. People aren't short on options, they're short on trust. If you want money to flow toward you, become a person of value, not just in what you sell, but in who you are. Are you someone others can count on? Do you deliver excellence without needing to be begged or praised? Do you keep growing, learning, and innovating even when no one's watching? That's what creates value. You don't need to be the loudest. You need to be the most consistent in solving a real problem in a meaningful way. Desperation is loud, frantic, scattered. Value is quiet, steady, confident. People feel the difference, even if they can't explain it. You've felt it too, that moment when someone tries too hard to sell you something, versus the moment when someone's offer feels so solid, so aligned, so necessary that you lean in without even being pushed. That's the power of energy. That's the power of doing the inner work before asking for external reward. The truth is that most people don't need to work harder. They need to become clearer. They need to build discipline into their daily lives and start taking their time and energy seriously. They need to stop playing small, stop pretending, and stop chasing quick fixes. If money isn't showing up, it's not because you're unlucky. It's because your foundation needs refinement. You're either unclear, undisciplined, or not creating enough value. The good news is all of that is within your control. You don't need permission. You need a standard. There's nothing wrong with wanting money, but you have to understand how it works. It's not magic. It's not reserved for the elite. It's the result of aligning your behavior with the principles that govern wealth. You want more, then become more. Study your craft. Show up every day. Build something real. Serve better than anyone else. And when the world starts to see that you're no longer in it for the short-term gain, but for long-term impact, the money follows, not because you begged for it, but because you earned the right to receive it. Clarity is power because it removes doubt. When you're clear on your purpose, your process, and your principles, you don't need to convince anyone. You attract the right people automatically. You no longer sell, you serve. You no longer chase, you magnetize. That's what makes people want to pay you. That's what creates loyalty. That's what builds legacy. But it can't happen if your internal state is chaotic, if you're only in it for money. Money runs away. If you're in it to create genuine impact, money runs toward you. There's a massive difference between being busy and being effective. Desperation makes you busy, but clarity makes you strategic. Desperation has you doing everything for everyone, but clarity gives you the power to focus on what actually matters. Desperation creates burnout, but discipline creates flow. Desperation says yes to anything, but value lets you say no to everything that doesn't fit your vision. When you stop operating from fear and start operating from purpose, everything changes. People see you differently. You see yourself differently, and your results finally reflect the work you've been putting in. Most people never give themselves enough time to be seen as valuable. They switch paths too soon, lower prices too fast, and quit right before momentum builds. But money doesn't follow the impatient. It follows those who plant seeds, water them daily, and wait in faith. It follows those who master their emotions instead of being mastered by them. If you can't control your mindset, you'll always sabotage your money. That's why personal growth is the key to financial growth. Your business will never outgrow your belief system. The best investment you can make is in becoming someone who cannot be ignored. Not because you're flashy or famous, but because you are the most reliable, the most prepared, the most valuable person in the room. Become so good at what you do that it's impossible to overlook you. Show up with excellence no matter who's watching. Deliver with intention, not for applause but for impact. And when your life reflects discipline, when your work reflects clarity, and your presence reflects value, money will follow you. It will have no other choice. Wealth begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank. Before any digits shift in your account, your beliefs shape your reality. If your mind is trained in lack, fear, and self-doubt, no amount of opportunity or income can rescue you from financial instability. Because money is not just numbers, it is energy, behavior, and mindset. The wealthiest people in the world often began without a single dollar. But what they did have was a belief system that supported growth. They believed they were worthy. They believed that they could learn. They believed that their situation didn't define their destiny. That's where wealth truly starts, not with a paycheck, but with a perspective. Your thoughts shape your habits. Your habits shape your choices. Your choices shape your income. That means your financial breakthrough will never start in your wallet. It will always start in your thoughts. If you think money is evil, you'll repel it. If you believe rich people are greedy, you'll subconsciously avoid becoming one. If you assume you're not smart enough, educated enough, or connected enough to build wealth, you'll act in ways that confirm that belief. Your brain is always looking for evidence to prove your beliefs right. So if you believe you're meant to struggle, you'll find ways to stay stuck. That's why it's dangerous to entertain small thinking. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The inner world controls the outer world. That's why two people can grow up in the same neighborhood, attend the same schools, and have the same resources, yet one builds a life of abundance while the other stays in survival. The difference is in their internal programming. One sees possibilities where the other sees limitations. One focuses on solutions while the other complains about problems. One believes that change is possible, while the other believes that they're doomed to repeat the past. If you want wealth to follow you, you must rewire your thinking to welcome it. You must see money not as a miracle, but as a result of thinking, acting, and serving at a higher level. You can't outperform your mindset. That's why people who win the lottery often end up broke again. Their bank account temporarily changed, but their mind didn't. So they made choices rooted in scarcity, fear, or ego. They spent instead of invested. They gave from guilt instead of wisdom. They tried to solve internal emptiness with external spending, and eventually, they returned to the financial level they were mentally prepared for, because your mind will always pull your finances back to its default setting. If your default setting is lack, that's where your wealth will return. That's why it's not enough to want more. You have to become more. You have to think at a higher level before your money ever does. A wealthy mindset is built through intention. It doesn't just appear. You must learn how to delay gratification, how to handle discomfort, how to say no to what doesn't serve your future. You must train your mind to prioritize growth over pleasure. That's what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's the way they think. Wealthy people don't just chase money, they chase mastery. They focus on building skills, solving problems, and staying consistent when others quit. And over time, money begins to follow them, not because they begged for it, but because they became the kind of person money trusts. If you carry shame around money, it will always feel unsafe in your hands. If you associate wealth with guilt or arrogance, you will block your own blessings. You can't attract what you judge, and you won't sustain what you don't feel worthy of. That's why healing your relationship with money is crucial. Examine your beliefs. Where did they come from? Are they even yours? Or did you inherit them from parents, society, or religion? Just because you were raised in lack doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can choose a new story. You can choose abundance. You can choose responsibility. But it starts with awareness. Until you see your patterns, you can't change them. Many people sabotage themselves not because they're incapable, but because they're afraid. Afraid of being seen, afraid of failing, afraid of succeeding and losing it all. That fear keeps them small. That fear keeps them broke. If you want money to follow you, you have to do the inner work to become emotionally and mentally prepared for what it brings. Wealth expands your influence, your responsibility, your decisions. And if your character is not strong enough to handle it, you'll crumble under the pressure. That's why your mindset must grow with your income. It's not just about getting rich. It's about becoming rich internally, spiritually, emotionally, so that the external wealth has a strong foundation to rest on. What you tolerate becomes your standard. If you tolerate excuses, chaos, procrastination, and short-term thinking, you teach your mind that it's acceptable to operate below your potential. And money doesn't follow mediocrity. It follows excellence. It follows consistency. It follows people who raise their standards and commit to becoming exceptional. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be intentional. Stop making decisions based on your current bank balance. Start making decisions based on the mindset of the person you're becoming, because that's how wealth finds you. It follows people who move in faith, who operate from vision, who act as if their success is already catching up. Your words matter. The way you talk about money creates either expansion or contraction. Do you speak lack? Do you joke about being broke? Do you dismiss opportunities because you assume you can't afford them? That language becomes law in your life. If you want money to follow you, start speaking as if it already respects you. Not in arrogance, but in expectation. Speak with authority. Speak with clarity. Speak with purpose, because your words are seeds, and the more you speak wealth, the more your mind aligns with creating it. Time is the currency of the wealthy. How you spend your time determines how you will earn your income. Broke mindsets waste hours, binge distractions, and prioritize entertainment. Wealthy mindsets protect their time, invest it wisely, and build systems that create value. You have the same 24 hours as anyone else. The difference is in how to use them. The difference is in your focus, your habits, and your environment. If you want to rise financially, you must first rise mentally. Control your attention. Build discipline. Surround yourself with energy that stretches you. Because proximity is power, and who you listen to becomes who you become. There is no shortcut to wealth, but there is a clear path, and that path begins in the mind. You must believe it before you see it. You must align your habits before you receive it. You must upgrade your mindset before you upgrade your lifestyle. If you do the inner work, the outer rewards will follow, not instantly, but inevitably. Wealth is not just about money, it is about wholeness, stewardship, and intention. When you master that, money will chase you, not the other way around. People who attract money become masters of one thing, not dabblers in many. The world doesn't reward scattered effort. It rewards focused excellence. The people whom money follows have chosen to plant themselves deeply in one field, one craft, one purpose, and they've watered it daily. They've committed to mastery, not just motion. They understand that depth creates value, and value creates income. While most people are jumping from one thing to the next, chasing trends, experimenting without commitment, the ones who are building real wealth are focused. They stay in their lane, sharpen their skills, and solve real problems in meaningful ways. When you dabble in too many things, you dilute your energy. Your attention is divided. Your results are inconsistent, and your brand becomes forgettable. People don't know what you truly stand for because you're constantly changing direction. Inconsistency breeds confusion, and confusion doesn't attract money, it repels it. Those who commit to one area, however, develop a reputation. They become known for something. They become the go-to person in their space, not because they're lucky, but because they stayed long enough to become excellent. That kind of excellence commands attention and earns trust. And where there's trust, there's transaction. Mastery doesn't come overnight. It is the result of intentional practice, relentless discipline, and the willingness to endure boredom. Most people quit before they see results because they confuse repetition with failure. They think if something isn't exciting, it's not working. But the truth is, mastery is often quiet. It's not glamorous. It's the repetition of small actions done with precision over time. And those small actions, done consistently, create momentum. That momentum builds confidence. That confidence builds credibility. And that credibility builds wealth. Those who attract money don't jump ship when it gets hard. They lean in, they study, they improve, they adapt, not by starting from scratch, but by refining what they've already built. They ask better questions. They seek feedback. They don't just chase results, they chase better versions of themselves. Within the same lane. That's how mastery is formed. Dabblers run from difficulty, but masters rise through it. Every time they face a challenge, they gain an edge. They become sharper, wiser, more skilled, and over time, they become the type of person the market rewards without hesitation. Money doesn't respond to people who try everything once. It responds to people who keep showing up when no one is clapping. When you dabble, you become a generalist. You know a little about a lot, but not enough to lead, innovate, or dominate. That lack of depth keeps you replaceable. In contrast, the specialist the master becomes irreplaceable. They're the ones others turn to for answers, guidance, and transformation. They don't just provide a service, they become the solution. And that is what attracts consistent income. People pay more for certainty than they do for effort. And certainty comes from mastery. If you want to be wealthy, pick your lane, not the one that looks cool, or pays fast, or promises shortcuts. Pick the one that aligns with your strengths, your purpose, your long-term vision. Then commit. Ignore the distractions, ignore the noise. While others pivot every month, you deepen your impact. While others seek validation, you seek skill. While others get bored and bounce, you stay, you refine, and you grow. In time, the market will take notice. It always does. The world notices those who don't flinch in the face of slow progress. Because slow progress in one direction eventually becomes unstoppable momentum. When you master one thing, opportunities open up in every direction. People think that specializing limits them, but it's the opposite. Focus creates freedom. When you're great at one thing, people trust you, and once people trust you, they open doors for you. You get invited into rooms, into deals, into circles you never thought possible, not because you chased variety, but because you became the best at what you do. You don't have to chase everything. You just have to be extraordinary at one thing, and that excellence will echo across industries. Dabblers burn out because they're constantly starting over. They spend their lives in learning mode, never arriving at execution. They're always beginners, always resetting. That endless restart cycle wastes time and builds frustration. But those who choose mastery make their time compound. Every hour they invest adds value to the last. Every lesson learned builds on the previous one. They don't start from scratch, they start from experience. That exponential return is what makes mastery so powerful. It's not just about doing more. It's about doing better with every step. People often chase money by trying to be everything to everyone. They create 5 products, 10 offers, 3 side hustles, and end up with no clear message or consistent income. But money flows to clarity, when you're clear about what you do, who you serve, and how you solve their problem, people come to you. Clarity creates confidence, and confidence attracts investment. Whether you're selling a product, offering a service, or building a brand, the rule remains the same: be known for something specific. If people can't describe you in one sentence, they won't remember you at all. Mastery doesn't mean you'll never evolve. It means you evolve with depth. You grow, but you grow within your calling. You expand, but not at the cost of focus. The foundation remains strong because you've built it with intention. You're not chasing everything, you're elevating one thing to its highest potential, and that elevation makes you magnetic. Money follows those who commit deeply, not those who skim the surface. There's a quiet power in mastery. You don't have to scream for attention. Your results speak. Your presence speaks. Your consistency speaks. You walk into rooms and people feel the weight of your expertise. You don't pitch, you solve. You don't beg, you deliver. That's the energy money respects. That's the energy money follows. Not the hustle of the scattered, but the confidence of the focused. If you want to be paid like a leader, you must think, act, and show up like one. Every minute spent mastering your craft is an investment in your future income. It may not pay off instantly, but it will pay off undeniably. The discipline you develop now will become the freedom you enjoy later. The clarity you build now will become the brand others trust later. And the excellence you deliver now will become the legacy you leave. So choose mastery, choose depth, choose one thing and do it so well that money has no choice but to follow. Because in the end, wealth doesn't chase the one who does everything, it chases the one who does something exceptionally well. You get paid in proportion to the problems you solve and the value you provide. This truth sits at the center of every lasting success story. Money doesn't just fall into people's lives randomly. It's attracted, earned, and sustained through service. The size of your income is directly tied to the size of the problem you're solving for others. If the problem is small, the pay is small. If the problem is painful, urgent, or widespread, and you become the solution to it, people will line up to pay you. The world has no shortage of money. What it lacks is people willing to take full ownership of solving important problems with skill and care. When you shift your focus from making money to making a difference, the entire game changes. You stop thinking about how to get paid and start thinking about how to help people in ways that truly matter. Money is simply a thank you note for the impact you make. The greater the impact, the more people want to say thank you. That's why some people can work fewer hours but earn more. They're solving higher value problems. They've positioned themselves as essential, not optional. Their work removes friction, saves time, brings peace, or increases joy. That kind of contribution doesn't go unnoticed, and it rarely goes unpaid. Value is not about what you think is valuable. It's about what others believe is valuable to them. That means listening. That means paying attention. That means developing the emotional intelligence to understand people's needs and desires better than they can describe them. The most successful people are not always the most talented. They're the ones who have figured out what people want, what people struggle with, and how to bridge the gap between frustration and solution. They study pain points like a science. They become obsessed with serving at a higher level, not selling at a higher price. The price rises automatically when the value becomes undeniable. If you want more income, increase your impact. If your business isn't growing, it's not always about better marketing or more followers. It's about whether people feel that you are solving something important for them. People don't pay for your time, they pay for transformation. They pay for relief. They pay for clarity, speed, ease, and outcomes. If your offer isn't converting, ask yourself what problem it truly solves. Ask if it's packaged in a way that communicates the value clearly. Because clarity is part of value. If people can't see what you're solving for them, they won't feel the urgency to buy. It's not about convincing, it's about making the value so obvious that people feel foolish for waiting. Solving problems is not just a business strategy, it's a mindset. You must wake up every day asking, how can I serve better today? How can I help someone move forward faster? How can I make things simpler, clearer, easier? That attitude creates a powerful shift in your energy. People notice it, they trust it, they gravitate toward it. Because most people are tired of being sold to. They want to be understood. They want to be helped. When you stop pushing products and start delivering results, money stops being a struggle. It starts to show up because people see you as a solution, not just a seller. This principle works in every industry. Whether you're a teacher, a coach, a designer, a writer, or a builder, your income depends on the problems you solve. The better you get at solving them, the higher your value rises. That's why continuous improvement is essential. You must keep learning, keep refining, keep elevating the quality of what you deliver. Because the world is changing fast, problems evolve, expectations rise, and only those committed to mastery will stay ahead. Mastery is not perfection, it's progression. It's the decision to become excellent in your lane and to keep growing even when you're already good. Excellence is rare, and what is rare becomes expensive. You don't need to be the best in the world. You just need to be the best for someone. Find your people, understand their pain, build something they can't live without, and deliver it with heart. This is how loyal clients are created. This is how word of mouth spreads. This is how trust is built. And trust is the currency that outlasts every algorithm. People follow value, not noise. They may be distracted by trends, but they invest in solutions. Be a solution, and they will come back again and again. That's how money follows you instead of you always chasing it. The reason some people feel stuck financially is because they're trying to take more than they give. They think success is about finding a loophole or getting lucky. But shortcuts always come with consequences. Real wealth is built through genuine value, through solving real problems for real people. If you're not making the money you want, ask what value you're creating. Ask how deeply you understand your audience. Ask if your offer makes someone's life easier, faster, better, or more peaceful. If it doesn't, then you don't have an income problem, you have a value problem. When you start valuing people, they will start valuing your work. That means showing up with care. That means listening instead of selling. That means creating things that matter. Money doesn't follow hype, it follows helpfulness. Be the person who cares more, who serves deeper, who delivers better than expected. That extra effort creates emotional loyalty, and loyalty turns into longevity. You won't just get one-time customers, you'll get lifetime advocates. That's how brands are built. That's how movements begin. And that's how financial freedom is created, not in a moment, but through a pattern of value over time. That be the one who sees the unseen problems, the one who hears what people don't say out loud, the one who brings ease where there's tension, the one who delivers clarity where there's confusion. That's where value lives. That's what people will always pay for. You don't need to lower your prices, you need to raise your value. When people experience your work and walk away feeling better, safer, smarter, or more confident, they remember that. And when they need help again, they come straight to you. Not because you advertise the most, but because you help the best. Money is not emotional, it's mathematical. But people are emotional. And when you become the answer to their problems, they reward you. They don't pay you just for what you do, they pay you for how you make them feel when their problem is gone. That feeling is worth more than any feature. Focus on that, and your business will never be broke. Value leads, money follows, always. Consistency builds trust, and trust builds income. In a world full of noise, speed, and constant distractions, consistency is rare, and that's exactly why it's powerful. People don't remember what you did once. They remember what you do repeatedly. They don't rely on flashes of greatness. They rely on dependable presence. That's how trust is formed. When you show up again and again, with integrity, with intention, and with quality, people begin to believe in you. They believe that you're not temporary. They believe that you won't disappear. They believe that you'll still be there when they need you. And that belief is what turns attention into loyalty, and loyalty into income. When people trust you, they stop shopping around. They don't compare prices. They don't hesitate, they choose you. Trust removes hesitation. It shortens decision time. It closes deals faster. It transforms potential clients into paying ones, and paying clients into advocates. But that trust doesn't come from clever words or polished marketing. It comes from consistency. You don't need to be perfect to earn trust. You just need to be consistent in your message, your presence, and your delivery. Do what you said you would do. Show up when you said you would. Serve even when no one's watching. People may not comment, but they notice. They are always watching to see if your actions match your words. Consistency proves you are serious. Anyone can be excited at the beginning. Most people are full of energy when they start something new. But what about when it's hard? When it's quiet? When no one's cheering you on? That's when consistency becomes a signal of your character. If you keep showing up when others quit, you separate yourself. You rise above the noise. That quiet discipline builds a reputation that no algorithm can erase. And that reputation becomes the foundation of your income. People don't buy from you just because they need something. They buy because they trust that you'll deliver it. Every time you follow through, you're making a deposit into your trust account. And like any account, the more consistent deposits you make, the more valuable it becomes. One broken promise can drain it, but dozens of fulfilled promises can build it beyond measure. That's why you can't afford to be flaky with your time. Your word or your work, your brand isn't what you say it is. It's what people feel every time they interact with you. If that feeling is stability, reliability, and excellence, then income follows naturally. You don't have to push people, they are pulled to you. Money doesn't follow talent alone. It follows trust. There are thousands of talented people who are broke, not because they lack skill, but because they lack consistency. They don't show up regularly. They don't follow through. They let mood decide action. But professionals don't wait to feel inspired. They've trained themselves to act regardless. That consistency signals commitment, and commitment builds trust. If people see that you're in it for the long haul, they're more likely to invest in you. If they think you're temporary, they hold back. No one wants to put their money into something or someone that might disappear next week. Consistency also creates clarity. When you show up regularly, your message becomes familiar. Your values become known. Your rhythm becomes predictable. And that predictability creates a sense of safety. People need to feel safe before they open their wallets. They need to know you're stable before they invest. It doesn't matter if you're selling a product, a service, or an idea. If people don't trust your consistency, they will hesitate. They'll delay. They'll move on. But when you're consistent, they come closer. They feel confident. They refer others, and your income grows, not from chasing, but from alignment. Trust is also earned through consistency and quality. If you deliver well once and poorly the next time, you shake the foundation. People start questioning your reliability. But when every interaction is infused with care, excellence, and presence, you build confidence. That confidence spreads. People talk. They remember the way you made them feel. And that memory builds your brand more than any logo ever could. Consistency in how you treat people, how you show up to meetings, how you respond to feedback. That's what builds an unshakable business. Not the hype, not the launch, not the fancy marketing. Just steady, reliable excellence. Income becomes predictable when you become predictable in the right ways. That doesn't mean boring. It means trustworthy. It means people know what to expect from you, and they look forward to it. Whether it's content, communication, or customer experience, your rhythm becomes part of their routine. And when something becomes part of someone's routine, it becomes valuable. That value turns into payment, loyalty, and long-term success. You don't need 1 million followers. You need consistent impact. You need people who know you won't let them down. That's how business scales, on the back of steady trust. Consistency isn't just external, it's internal too. It's the promises you keep to yourself, the way you train your habits, the way you show up when no one's watching. That internal consistency creates discipline, and that discipline is what makes external consistency possible. You can't expect others to trust you if you're still breaking your own word. Keep your promises, even the small ones, especially the small ones. They shape your identity, and your identity shapes your actions. And your actions shape your income. Money responds to trust like a magnet. And trust is the byproduct of showing up again and again with integrity and intention. You don't have to shout to be heard. You don't have to chase to be chosen. You just have to be steady enough to be counted on. In a world where so many people give up, flake out, or fade away, be the one who endures. Be the one who delivers. Be the one who's still standing when the dust settles. Because the truth is, the world doesn't reward the most talented, it rewards the most reliable. The longer you stay consistent, the more powerful you become. Your name starts to carry weight. Your reputation precedes you. Opportunities find you, not because you begged for them, but because you built something people trust, and that trust turns into income, into impact, into influence. Not overnight, but over time. Not by luck, but by discipline. Not through pressure, but through presence. So show up, again and again, and let your consistency speak louder than your words, because money will always follow the one who earns trust. And trust is always built on the quiet power of doing what you said you would do. Stop chasing trends and start building timeless value. The world is filled with people who are constantly jumping from one new thing to the next, hoping the latest trick or tactic will finally bring them success. But the people who money consistently follows are the ones who resist the urge to constantly reinvent and instead focus on creating something that lasts. Trends are temporary. They come and go like waves. They may bring a moment of attention, but they rarely bring lasting impact or stable income. Timeless value, on the other hand, never goes out of style. It is rooted in depth, substance, and a genuine desire to serve people in a way that truly matters. When you chase trends, you are always reacting. You're always one step behind, adjusting your message or your product to fit whatever is hot. Right now, it creates instability. Your audience can feel the inconsistency. One month you're about one thing, and the next month you've shifted focus completely. That kind of fluctuation doesn't build trust, and without trust, there is no real income. Money follows those who are clear, confident, and consistent in what they offer. It follows those who build their foundation so strong that even when the market changes, they remain steady and relevant. The truth is, timeless value is created through deep understanding. It requires you to go beyond the surface. Instead of asking what's popular right now, you ask what people truly need. You look at the root of their problems. You study their pain points. You focus on what actually helps them grow, succeed, or feel better long after the trend has passed. This kind of value takes time to build. It's not flashy, it's not always exciting, but it lasts. It earns respect, and eventually, it earns income that doesn't disappear overnight. Timeless value doesn't require constant reinvention. It grows through refinement. Instead of constantly starting over, you improve what already works. You build on your strengths. You listen to your audience. You pay attention to what makes a real difference in their lives. That kind of commitment leads to mastery, and mastery is always in demand. People don't remember those who followed every trend. They remember those who stood for something, who built something solid, who remained valuable even when everyone else was shifting directions. When you build timeless value, you position yourself above the noise. You don't compete in saturated markets. You create your own space. You develop a brand that isn't based on being trendy, but on being transformational. And that kind of brand earns loyalty. People come back to you because they know you're not just another passing voice. They trust you. They feel safe investing in you. That's what allows you to raise your prices, expand your offerings, and create financial growth without burning out or chasing the next big thing. Chasing trends often comes from a place of fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of missing out. Fear that if you don't stay visible, people will forget you. But that fear leads to short-term decisions. You become reactive instead of strategic. You start creating from pressure instead of purpose. But when you shift your focus to timeless value, you reclaim your power. You build with intention. You choose substance over speed. And that choice is what makes your work more meaningful and your income more sustainable. Timeless value is also rooted in authenticity. When you stop trying to keep up with what everyone else is doing, you have the freedom to be yourself. You can speak from your truth. You can create based on your unique perspective. That authenticity resonates deeply with people. It builds emotional connection. And emotional connection is what drives long-term business. People may buy from trends, but they stay with those who are real. If you want money to follow you, show up with authenticity and deliver value that people can rely on year after year. This doesn't mean you can't evolve. Timeless value doesn't mean being stuck or refusing change. It means evolving with depth, It means adapting while staying anchored. Your foundation remains solid even as your methods improve. That balance is what creates resilience. When others fade out because the trend has passed, you're still growing, you're still earning, you're still serving, because your value wasn't tied to a moment, it was tied to a mission. You also save energy by not chasing trends. Constantly shifting focus is exhausting. It fragments your attention, it weakens your message. But when you're grounded in timeless value, you work from peace, not pressure. You become more efficient, your systems improve, your audience becomes clearer, and with that clarity, your income becomes more predictable. You can scale without chaos, you can expand without confusion, because everything you do is anchored in something real. People are hungry for depth. In a world addicted to speed and novelty, people are craving something that feels stable, meaningful, and lasting. When you become that for them, they reward you not just with their money, but with their trust, their loyalty, and their referrals. You don't have to constantly market yourself. Your results become your marketing. Your clients become your ambassadors. And that's when money begins to follow you, because you've become more than relevant. You've become necessary. Your legacy is not built on what's popular. It's built on what's powerful. Trends fade, but value compounds. Every time you deliver something that genuinely helps someone, you're planting seeds. Seeds that grow over time into reputation, into influence, and into income. That's why the best investment you can make is not in chasing what's new, but in refining what is timeless. Your skills, your message, your offer, when built with intention and rooted in service. These things become assets that pay you long after the initial effort. So stay focused on building something that matters, something that stands the test of time. Let others chase the spotlight while you build the foundation. Because when the noise quiets down and the trends pass, the ones who focused on real value will still be standing. And they won't just be surviving, they'll be thriving. Not because they moved fast, but because they moved wisely. Not because they shouted the loudest, but because they served the deepest. And in the end, money always finds those who build with substance. It always follows those who stop chasing trends and choose instead to create timeless value. Your income will never exceed your identity. The way you see yourself sets the ceiling for what you believe you can earn, keep, and grow. If you carry the mindset of someone who thinks small, doubts their worth, or fears success, your income will always shrink to fit that limited identity. Money doesn't just respond to skill or strategy. It responds to belief. You can have all the tools, training, and talent in the world, but if your identity is rooted in fear, lack, or low self-worth, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities, delay decisions, and play smaller than you're capable of. Identity is the blueprint. It determines what you expect, what you accept, and what you attract. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, that becomes your financial reality. If you believe you're not smart enough or worthy enough to build wealth, you'll find ways to prove that belief right. You'll avoid high-value situations. You'll price yourself too low. You'll hesitate to speak up. And even when success starts to show up, you'll find ways to push it away because it doesn't align with how you see yourself. That's why changing your financial life starts with changing your inner story. Until you upgrade the way you think about yourself, any external success will feel foreign and temporary. You might get a financial breakthrough, but you won't hold on to it. You might have a good month, but it won't last, because your mind will always return to what's familiar. If wealth doesn't feel familiar to your identity, you'll unconsciously drift back to struggle. This is why people can win big and lose it all quickly. The outside changed, but the inside didn't. And eventually, the inside always wins. To shift your income, you must expand your self-image. You must start seeing yourself as someone who deserves success, who creates value, and who knows how to manage and multiply money. That image must become stronger than the old one rooted in scarcity or self-doubt. This shift doesn't happen overnight. It requires awareness, repetition, and intention. You have to interrupt the old thoughts and replace them with new beliefs. You have to catch yourself when you downplay your abilities or dismiss your potential. Every time you reinforce a limiting identity, you reinforce a limited income. Your identity is shaped by what you allow. If you constantly tolerate chaos, procrastination, or inconsistency, you teach yourself that this is your standard, and your income will reflect that standard. But when you raise the bar on how you think, how you work, and how you show up, everything starts to change. You attract better clients, bigger opportunities, and more consistent results, not because you got lucky, but because your internal world now matches the outcomes you're receiving. This is why mindset work is not optional. It's essential. The most successful people you know didn't just master strategy. They mastered identity. They rewrote their inner script. They built a mental image of themselves that matched the level of success they were aiming for. They didn't just hope for money, they prepared to receive it. They built habits, boundaries, and behaviors that aligned with the version of themselves who could thrive with wealth. And because they became that version first, the money followed. You can't wait for your income to change so you feel worthy. You have to feel worthy first. Worth is not something you earn, it's something you claim. When you see yourself as valuable, others do too. When you speak with belief, people listen. When you move with confidence, people trust you. This inner energy shifts how the world responds to you. You stop playing small. You stop second-guessing. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You start taking bolder action, having harder conversations, and stepping into rooms that stretch you. Because now, your identity supports your goals instead of fighting them. Many people stay broke not because they lack opportunity, but because they haven't expanded who they believe they are. They're still living in the shadows of old programming, voices from childhood, past failures, or cultural conditioning telling them they're not enough. Those voices become their internal compass, and without realizing it, they steer away from wealth. They fear being seen, being judged, or being responsible for more. But nothing changes until that inner story does. The moment you choose to believe in a bigger identity, your life begins to realign. That new identity must be supported with new habits. If you say you're a leader, show up like one. If you believe you're valuable, price yourself like it. If you see yourself as powerful, speak with clarity and take decisive action. Identity without action is just fantasy. It's not enough to visualize success, you must live in alignment with it. That means making choices from the mindset of the future you, not the fearful version from the past. Every time you choose alignment over avoidance, your income has a chance to rise. You don't need permission to become someone new. You don't need validation to raise your standards. The transformation starts the moment you decide you're done living below your potential. That moment of decision creates a ripple effect. You stop tolerating excuses. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You realize that no amount of money can fix a broken identity, but the right identity can create unlimited money. When you own who you are and what you bring to the table, the right doors open, the right people show up, the right opportunities unfold, not because the world changed, but because you did. People don't pay you for your time. They pay you for your energy, your confidence, your presence. If you walk into a room and carry the identity of someone who can solve real problems and deliver real value, you get treated differently. Your words land differently. Your offers convert more powerfully, not because you're louder or flashier, but because you're aligned. There's nothing more magnetic than someone who is fully grounded in who they are and what they can do. Your income will always rise or fall to meet the level of your identity. That's why personal growth is the key to financial growth. You don't get rich to become someone. You become someone, and then you get rich. Identity drives behavior. Behavior creates results, and results determine income. It all begins with how you see yourself. So if you want money to follow you, start by becoming the kind of person it naturally gravitates toward. Not someday, but today. Not after you've succeeded, but while you're becoming. Because when your identity rises, everything else will rise with it. The person you want to become already attracts the wealth you desire. Grow into them. Wealth is not something you chase, it's something you align with. The version of you that earns more lives more confidently, communicates more clearly, and acts more intentionally. That version of you already exists, not in the future, but in the choices you make today. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't closed by luck or time. It's closed by growth. When you start thinking, feeling, and behaving like the person who already has the results you want, you begin to pull those results toward you. Money doesn't follow hesitation, it follows certainty. The future version of you who is living with abundance isn't second-guessing their value, procrastinating on decisions, or shrinking from responsibility. They're decisive, they're clear, and they've trained themselves to move even when it's uncomfortable. If you want to attract more wealth, you must start embodying those qualities now. Not when the money comes, but so the money comes. The mindset of wealth is formed in the invisible long before it manifests in the visible. That mindset starts to shape your habits, your relationships, your energy, and your presence. You have to begin acting like the version of you that already has what you want. That doesn't mean pretending or faking confidence. It means asking yourself daily, what would that version of me do in this situation? Would they be scrolling endlessly or building something that lasts? Would they avoid difficult conversations or lead with clarity? Would they discount their services or stand firm in their worth? When you begin to align your actions with your highest self, you close the gap between desire and reality. It's not about waiting for life to change, it's about changing how you show up to life. Growth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's found in the small daily disciplines that no one else sees. Waking up earlier, making the uncomfortable call, choosing the hard thing over the easy one again and again. Each of these small actions shapes you into someone who can handle more, who can steward wealth with wisdom, who doesn't crumble under pressure. Wealth responds to people who are ready, not just eager, and readiness is a product of growth. If you receive more before you become more, you won't know how to keep it. That's why personal development is not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Wealth demands a new level of responsibility. The version of you who lives in abundance doesn't just spend more, they manage better. They know how to say no to short-term gratification in favor of long-term vision. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, not just those who comfort them. They operate from purpose, not emotion. If you want that version of you to emerge, you must start shedding the patterns and mindsets that no longer serve the person you're becoming. You can't take old habits into a new life. The cost of elevation is transformation. The beauty of this journey is that you don't have to wait to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. Each day gives you a chance to make micro decisions that move you closer to your future self. Start treating time like it matters, energy like it's valuable, and money like it's a tool, not an identity. Start holding yourself to higher standards even when no one is watching. Start investing in learning, not just earning, because the person you want to become isn't lucky, they're prepared. They've trained for the life they now live, and that training begins with your next choice. Money is a mirror. It reflects who you are, what you believe, and how you behave. If you fear it, avoid it, or misuse it, it will keep its distance. But if you respect it, understand it, and manage it well, it begins to move in your direction. The person who attracts wealth isn't obsessed with money, they're obsessed with value. They focus on how to serve, how to solve, and how to scale impact. And as they grow in those areas, income grows naturally. Because money is simply a reward for service multiplied by excellence and delivered with consistency. There's a version of you who doesn't overthink every decision, who doesn't doubt every move, who doesn't need to be told they're good enough. That version is waiting on the other side of discipline. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you become more of them. Every time you do the work when it's inconvenient, you get closer to their mindset, and eventually the line between who you are and who you were becoming disappears. You wake up one day living the results that were once just a dream because you became the person who could sustain them. This future self isn't perfect, but they are focused. They're not fearless, but they've trained themselves to move through fear. They don't have more hours in the day, but they use them with more intention. They don't need external validation because they've built internal alignment. And that alignment is magnetic. It draws in opportunities, people, and resources. Because when you're aligned, you're powerful. You don't need to chase anything. You become the kind of person success chases. Wealth flows where confidence meets competence. Confidence without growth is arrogance. Competence without belief is self-sabotage. But when you pair the two, when you believe in your ability and back it up with consistent action, the results are inevitable. The world begins to treat you according to how you treat yourself. If you want to be taken seriously, start taking yourself seriously. If you want to be paid more, become more valuable. Not just in skill, but in how you think, how you lead, and how you show up. Everything you want is already available to the version of you who's willing to rise into it. Not later, but now. Growth doesn't wait. It invites. And every time you step into discomfort, every time you stretch past your limits, every time you choose discipline over distraction, you answer that invitation. You start to embody the energy of someone who is no longer chasing wealth but attracting it, because they've become aligned. They've become ready. And money always follows readiness. So stop waiting to feel like that person and start becoming them. Start walking like them, speaking like them, acting like them. Let your thoughts match their thoughts. Let your habits mirror theirs. Let your energy reflect the identity of someone who lives with purpose, not pressure. Because when you grow into the person who already attracts the wealth you desire, you no longer have to force anything. You simply align and receive. And in that alignment, you find not just more income, but more impact, peace, and freedom. Money follows service, not noise. The loudest voice in the room is not always the one creating the most value. In a world obsessed with attention, the real currency is not likes, views, or viral posts. It is the quiet, powerful impact of service. You can shout all day on social media. You can flood people's feeds with your content. But if you are not solving real problems, your income will reflect that. Service is what builds trust, and trust is what opens the door to wealth. People don't pay for noise, they pay for results, they pay for relief. They pay for solutions that matter. Those who serve deeply and consistently are often not the flashiest, they are the most focused. While others are busy trying to be seen, they are busy delivering outcomes. They are doing the work that no one talks about, the behind-the-scenes effort that actually changes lives. And because they are creating real transformation, they are remembered, referred, and rewarded. They don't chase attention, they earn loyalty. They don't beg for clients, they build relationships that last. That is why their income grows steadily, because it's rooted in value, not vanity. Noise is easy. Anyone can make noise. Anyone can post 100 times a day, scream about their offers, or jump on the latest trend. But service takes discipline. Service takes empathy. It takes the patience to understand what someone really needs, and the integrity to deliver it well. Noise fades fast. It might get a reaction today, but it's forgotten tomorrow. But the person who serves builds something that lasts. Their name becomes associated with trust, their work becomes a standard, and their presence becomes essential in the lives of those they help. Money is not emotional, but people are. And people invest in those who make them feel seen, supported, and safe. That is the power of service. When you show up with the intention to help, not to impress, people sense it. They lean in, they listen, they remember, because service is rare. Most people are too busy trying to look successful instead of doing the work that actually makes them successful. The real win is not in being noticed for a moment, but in being valued for a lifetime. And that comes from consistent, meaningful service. You do not need to be everywhere. You need to be effective where you are. If you are solving a real problem for real people in a way that works, the money will come. Maybe not instantly, but inevitably. That's how it works. The world eventually makes room for those who serve well. Clients talk about them, customers come back to them, opportunities open up around them. Not because they made the most noise, but because they made the most impact. That impact is what builds a business that thrives long after trends have changed. When you lead with service, you stop needing to convince people. Your results do the talking. Your clients become your marketing. Your reputation begins to attract income without constant effort. Because when people know you can help them, they find you. They trust you. They choose you. Not because you screamed the loudest, but because you showed up consistently with value. That is the kind of business money follows. Not hype-based, not trend-driven, but service-centered, grounded, lasting. Ask yourself, who am I really helping? What problems am I solving? How am I making life easier, better, clearer for the people I serve? If the answer isn't clear, the income will reflect that. But if your answer is strong and rooted in service, your business has a foundation no competitor can shake. Because when you serve at a high level, you become irreplaceable. You're not just a provider, you're a partner in someone's success. That role commands respect, and it commands revenue. You can't fake service. People feel your intention. If you are in it only for the money, it shows. If you are in it to make a difference, the money will follow. Maybe not right away, but in time. It always does. Service creates emotional connection. And emotional connection drives buying decisions. People remember who helped them when no one else did. They remember who went the extra mile, who answered the extra question, who followed up when they didn't have to. Those small acts of care are not small to the person receiving them. And over time, those acts build an unshakable brand. This doesn't mean you shouldn't market, but your marketing should reflect your service, not replace it. Speak with purpose, share with integrity, promote from the heart. Let people feel your commitment to helping, not just your desire to sell. When your message is rooted in service, it resonates differently. It builds connection, not just curiosity. And connection is what builds loyal paying clients. Service is a long game. It requires consistency, humility, and vision. But it pays in ways that noise never will. It brings you clients who stay, not just visit. It brings you referrals that trust you before you ever meet them. It brings you peace because you know your income is built on something real, not something that could disappear tomorrow. And in the long run, that stability is more valuable than any viral moment. Noise can bring attention, but service brings abundance. Choose abundance. Choose impact. Choose to be the person who helps, not just the person who talks. That choice may not bring instant gratification, but it will bring long-term growth. It will build something you're proud of. It will create a business that doesn't just look good, but actually does good. And that is the kind of business that money will always follow. So stop trying to be louder. Start trying to be better. Focus less on being seen and more on being useful. When you do that, the people who need you will find you. And they won't just follow you, they'll invest in you. Not because you made the most noise, but because you made the most difference. In the end, service wins, always, and money knows exactly where to go. To the hands of those who use it to serve. Become undeniable, and money won't be able to ignore you. When your work speaks so clearly and your value is so strong that no one can overlook you, that's when everything starts to shift. Being undeniable means rising above opinions, competition, and excuses. It means showing up with so much clarity, skill, and consistency that people don't have to guess who to go to when they need what you offer. They already know. You've positioned yourself as the answer, and money always follows the answers that solve real problems without apology. To become undeniable, you have to master your craft. Not halfway, not sometimes, but all the way. The world doesn't pay average, it pays excellence. The world doesn't open doors for people who are dabbling, it opens doors for those who are obsessed with doing things better than anyone else. Whether you're a coach, a creator, a business owner, or an employee, your value rises the moment you become so good that they can't replace you. And that level of excellence is earned through time, effort, repetition, and ruthless dedication to improvement. Undeniable. People don't talk about what they're going to do, they just do it. They don't need to prove their worth with noise, because their results speak louder than any marketing ever could. They don't wait for permission, praise, or the perfect time. They move, they act, they build, because they know their worth isn't based on external approval, it's built internally through their own belief and action. This kind of confidence is magnetic. It draws in opportunities, clients, investors, and support because people want to be around someone who knows who they are and what they bring to the table. You become undeniable when you stop competing and start creating. Most people spend so much time looking sideways, worrying about what others are doing, that they forget to double down on their own greatness. But undeniable people don't chase, they lead. They focus on their lane. They outwork, outserve, and outlast, not because they're trying to be better than anyone, but because they're trying to be the best version of themselves. And in doing that, they naturally rise above the noise and into a league of their own. Becoming undeniable also means being reliable. Excellence without consistency is wasted potential. You can't show up great one day and disappear the next. You have to build a reputation of dependability, of delivering results even when it's hard, of staying the course when others fade out. That kind of consistency creates momentum, and momentum creates power. When you are consistent, your brand grows stronger, your confidence grows deeper, and your income grows wider. People begin to trust you not just because you're talented, but because you're steady. And in business, trust is more valuable than talent. There's something unshakable about someone who refuses to quit. Undeniable people are not perfect, but they are persistent. They get rejected and keep going. They face failure and keep building. they fall and keep rising. That resilience makes them unstoppable. It shows the world that their value doesn't disappear just because they hit a rough patch. In fact, their true strength is revealed in those moments. Because while others fall apart, they evolve. And that evolution sharpens them into someone who not only deserves wealth, but knows how to sustain it. You become undeniable when you align your actions with your identity. When you know deep down that you are meant for more and you back that belief with action, that alignment creates energy. And that energy is impossible to ignore. You walk into a room differently. You speak with conviction. You take up space not with arrogance, but with assurance. People can feel it. They can sense that you've done the work internally, and that your external results are just catching up to who you've already become. Money flows to clarity. If people don't understand what you do or how you can help them, they hesitate. But when you are undeniable, you communicate with such precision that there is no confusion. Your message is sharp, your offer is solid, and your confidence is grounded. That kind of clarity removes resistance. It makes people feel safe to invest, safe to follow, safe to choose you. Because in a world full of uncertainty, certainty is priceless. And you become that certainty through clarity, commitment, and consistency. Becoming undeniable doesn't mean being the loudest or the most popular. It means being the most trusted, the most valuable, and the most prepared. You prepare when no one's watching so that when it's your time to be seen, you're ready. You study when others sleep. You build when others scroll. You focus when others chase distractions. That discipline creates separation, and that separation becomes your elevation. People may not notice at first, but over time they can't ignore what you've become. Undeniable people make things happen. They don't wait for motivation, they create habits. They don't rely on luck, they rely on effort. They don't hope to be chosen, they choose themselves. The self-leadership is what turns average into excellence and potential into power. The moment you stop waiting for opportunities and start preparing for them, everything begins to shift. Money starts to show up not because it suddenly changed, but because you did. Because now you're showing up in a way that matches the level of success you're asking for. When you become undeniable, your name gets mentioned in rooms you've never entered. Your work gets shared by people you've never met. Your presence begins to grow beyond your reach because people can feel the truth and integrity behind what you do. That is how legacies are built, not through force, but through foundation. Not through noise, but through value. Not through luck, but through becoming. Make yourself undeniable through your preparation, through your integrity, through your execution. Build a body of work that speaks louder than your words. Serve so well that people can't imagine not working with you. Grow so much that even your old self wouldn't recognize you. Show up every day with the mindset that you are building something permanent, not just profitable. And as you do, the money will follow, not because you begged for it, but because you became the kind of person it gravitates toward. Asterisk money isn't mysterious. It's just the world's way of measuring trust and value. If money isn't coming in, ask where trust is missing. Ask where value is unclear. Then fix it. You're not broke because you're incapable. You're broke because you haven't committed to becoming a producer at the level money responds to. No one owes you wealth, but the world is ready to reward you when you become someone worth rewarding. That's your power. You don't need to be lucky, connected, or born into it. You need to be clear, disciplined, and valuable. Do that, and money will follow you every time.